Hello and welcome back. My name is Rick Bosley, and you're here listening because I'm giving you some real estate insights to help understand what is happening in real estate in the market, whether you're an investor, just an informed consumer, or a buyer or a seller. I was having a conversation with one of my sellers today. We received an offer over the weekend, and there's some questions that we had about it. And I wanted to get some clarity on really who is paying closing costs or why and when would you, as a buyer, ask a seller to pay additional closing costs, specifically for the interest rates. The interest rates continue to be a product of a concession or contention. And right now, I spoke with my lender. One of our lenders that we use is Jose Lagrono with Home First Lending. And he mentioned the conventional loan is about 6.75% right now. So let's mark that as a baseline for 6.75%. And a lot of people are going, I would like to buy that interest rate down. Now, we believe that the interest rates will lower over time. This is not the low. This is the median, if not slightly above median. If we could get to 5.5 to 6.5, I think that's a sweet spot. Anything less than 5.5 is when the market needs a surge. Anything more than 6.5 is when the market needs to just chill out a little bit. So we've been floating and hovering in the sixes for quite some time now, for at least a couple of years. And the peak was, I think, October 2022. That's when we were at 7.5, and it's slowed down from there. Well, anyways, so we want to buy down interest rate. And we have to realize when we buy down interest rate, essentially what we're doing is we're making a bet with the bank, and it's going to say, I'm going to pay you interest in advance, and you're going to take it off the entirety of the loan. And the bank is going to do this based on what they believe how long you'll be in the house for. So an example I want to share with you is I've got an interest calculator up there. So if we were to borrow $520,000 at the current rate of 6.75, so maybe you're putting 100,000 down and you're going to borrow or finance 520, the house you're purchasing is 620. Okay, so we've got 520,000. Now, of course, we've got interest and we've got principal, and this is just the principal interest, not the taxes, not the insurance, so the PI. And it says the loan for this today at 6.75 would be about $33.73. Or we could take $20,000 and buy the rate down to 5.75. So when I say $20,000, essentially a good rule of thumb, and of course, verify those with your lender, local bank, or institution, but essentially a point is going to be 1% of the loan. So 1 point would be $5,200 in this case. And then that would take it down about a quarter to about a third percent. So if we can do easy math, and essentially 4 points gets you down an entire interest rate. So if we were to invest or buy down $20,000, then we would essentially go to a 5.75. So the question in the hand is, if I want to do a $500,000 loan at 6.75, then I would pay $32.43. So if you're taking notes, write this down. I'm going to write it down for you. $32.43. This is what we would pay. Or, and the question was, we want to pay you more than that. We're going to pay you exactly above list price, or we're going to go to 520, because what I would like you to do, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is give me $20,000 back so I can pay down my interest rate. Well, who's really paying for that? I hear so many times, the seller's paying my interest rate down. No, they're not. The buyer is overpaying what they would have normally paid so they can finance the interest rate. So they're actually financing or willing to finance $20,000 more than they would on the offer. So they can take that $20,000 to buy down interest in advance. And so now they could borrow it $500,000. Stay with me. $500,000, and they could pay $32.43 or $520, buy their interest rate down by a full point, and then they'll be paying $30,035. So what's the difference of $32.43 versus $3,035? What's a difference of $208? $208. So now they've traded $20,000 today for $208 a month. To recoup that, they need to stay in the house or stay with this loan for 96 months or more, about 96 months and a week. So if we take that of how many years is that, that's about 8 years. So the bank says, you're going to pay me 8 years of interest in advance. And for that, I will lock you in at 5.75 instead of 6.75. And the reality is people are living in homes 5 to 7 years, or sometime in the next 8 years, the market's going to change or shift, and we're going to see a refinance opportunity to 5.75 anyway, or maybe 6. So we've got to look at this. If you are in the market and you're buying and you want the seller to pay you closing costs to essentially allow you to buy down a rate, what you're doing is trading cash today and spreading it out over time. In the case of this, spreading it out over the next 8 years. Now, yes, if you never refinance this house or this loan, if you never refinance it or you don't move the next 8 years, congratulations, you won. But for you to start winning, you've got to be in there for more than 8 years or not touch the refinancing the next 8 years. I want to think about this because so many times, whether it's the commission or interest rates or closing cost, I hear buyers almost gloat and brag of the seller paid my closing costs. No, they didn't. The seller didn't pay your closing costs. You paid to finance your closing costs. Yeah, I was going to put in an offer for 350, but I gave them 360 and they put in a new roof. The sellers put in a new roof. Well, no, they didn't. You just paid them $10,000 more and you guys shared the new roof. Or we want closing costs so we can pay the agent. Well, not only is all this happening, but you're financing this roof. Or maybe you want to put in new floors and a new kitchen. So you put in a full price offer and ask for $15,000 in concessions. And so that $15,000 so you can take cash and then go put in new carpet and go put in the outdoor kitchen. They didn't pay for that. You've essentially increased your loan amount and you're paying somewhere around 5.75 to 6.75 interest amortized over the next 15 to 30 years for these carpets, which by the way only lasts for 4 to 5 years. But even when you replace the carpets again and 5 years later put in vinyl flooring, guess what you're still paying for? You're still paying for those carpets because you rolled it into your loan. So listen carefully if you are a buyer right now, and I want you to think logically that says the buyers have always paid for all of these fees. Sellers don't pay commission. Buyers pay commission. Stay with me here. If I'm a seller, the seller cares about one thing. The seller cares about what is my net? What is my net? And they know what their offer is. And they're going to say, how much do I owe the agent? How much is my closing cost for the other agent? How much is my closing cost for title? How much is my closing cost for taxes? How much is this? How much is that? What am I left with? How much do I owe on my loan? What is my payoff? What is my left with? What is my net? Can we agree? Sellers care about net. Yes. Say yes. Buyers care about two things. How much down and what's my monthly payment? How much down? What's my monthly payment? So if there's absolutely zero fees, then a seller will accept a number less than they would if there were fees. Yes? Say yes. This is why for sale by owners, historically will sell for less than not. I've heard this. I've seen this. I've got friends who have done it and they're going, I'm just going to sell my house to my tenant. So since I'm not paying an agent, I'm going to go ahead and give them a 5 to 6% discount because I'm saving the fees anyway. What do they actually care about? They care about the net. So buyers, listen to me. Yes, sellers on the ALTA, on the settlement statement, it'll come out of a debit on their column that says they are paying the listing agent. Oftentimes they are paying the buyer's agent. We can agree with that. The way it actually works is the listing agent pays the buyer's agent. If I'm the listing agent, I pay the buyer's agent. I get paid from the seller. So the seller pays me through the listing agreement. But who pays the seller? The buyer does. And if the buyer came in and said, tell you what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to make you an offer. You don't have to pay any of the fees. I'll pay your realtor. I'll pay my realtor. I'll pay the title company. I'll pay for the survey. I'll pay for everything. This is your number out the door. Anything above that, I'll take care of. Guess what the seller's going to do? Amazing. I love the terms, and therefore I will accept a number less than the competitor one because what do I care about? I care about the net. Please don't get confused. If you're looking to buy and sell, you don't understand how this math works, then get with an agent who please does. And if I'll tell you the most insane things I've seen and heard is when I see a cash offer come in and the buyer's asking for money back and closing costs. Well, what's the point? You've got cash. Why are we going to pay 1.2, 1.4% in taxes every year on top of that? So this $20,000 loan that we talked about or increase, this $20,000 added to save $200 a month. So you can recoup this interest in 8 years. You're also paying an additional, I'll call it 1.4% a year in taxes. So if we look at 20,000 times 0.014, there's your millage rate. You're also paying $280 a year in taxes forever because your taxable and sale amount is higher. If you're listening to this, then you like math, you like logic. I believe there's a trust triangle in every relationship we have, whether it's a marital relationship, a friendship relationship, a client to consumer to expert to realtor relationship, and it has a trust triangle. The trust triangle is built off of three things: authenticity. Am I real? Am I being real with myself? Am I being real with you? Do I have your best interest in mind? That's authentic. Empathy. Do I understand where you're coming from? The trials, the hardships, the frustrations, the anxiety, and can I empathize with you so we can be on the same page? Authenticity, empathy, and the third one, which is what I'm talking about today, is logic. And if you're logical, empathetic, and authentic, you have a trustful relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about making an offer and understanding terms and understanding commissions and understanding fees and understanding interest rate buy downs and understanding 3-2-1 buy downs and understanding arms versus fixed and everything else, please use logic and ask yourself, would you rather have $20,000 a day, today, or $200 a month indefinitely, or until you sell or refinance? If you know you're going to be in this house for more than 8 years and you don't need that $20,000, by all means, keep in mind you're paying $280 more a year in taxes. Keep in mind your insurance might go higher as well. So this is my plead for you guys, that when you're talking with professionals, with lenders, with realtors, with financial advisors, make sure the logic is there as well. And please know that buyers, you are the one paying for this, even though it might come from the seller's side of the Alta. It might come from their side of the closing documents. They accepted that because you gave them an offer that was high enough that even then, when they paid these things, they netted the number they wanted to net. If you don't believe me, make an offer. And an offer will be $500, you pay all the fees, or $470, I pay all the fees. If the fees are $30,000, the seller's not going to care. In fact, they'd probably rather take the $470 because of appraisal problems or challenges or issues. They care about the net, and the lower the number, the least hoops you have to go through with appraisals. That's a different conversation, different podcast. I got a little passionate there because I need to make sure our industry understands this, because when we receive stuff that just doesn't make sense, I want to make sure that you have some context for this. If something doesn't make sense to you, drop a comment below. I'll help to make sense of it, or say, you're right, that made no sense. Let's not do that. Work things through. There's a trade-off. Know that the interest rates are going down because the bank's taking your money in advance and they're betting that you're going to refinance this thing or sell this in the next 8 years. And if so, they won that bet. By the way, what are you losing? Let's think about the opportunity cost. Because I bet if you were to put $20,000 over in a Goldman Sachs money market right now and take $20,000 and let's go get 5.5%, and I can go make an extra $1,100 a year. Well, now I could make $91 in interest. I could make an extra $20 in lower taxes. So now I'm not saving $207, or I am, but it's also costing me $110. Now it's $97 a month. Congratulations. You traded $20,000 for $97,000. No, excuse me, $97. That will take you 206 months to recover, or if you're doing the math, a little more than 18 years. Ladies and gentlemen, be careful when you got a deal and you got the seller, air quotes, to pay for you to buy down your interest rate. You could have just taken that money off the offer price, paid less money for it, reduced your taxes, put that money in a money market. Compound interest is our friend. Let's be smart, folks. Let's make good decisions that make good financial sense, because the purpose of buying a house not only is to have a home, but also to help yourself build wealth. And that's what we want to do each and every day for our customers and for our clients, is help you build wealth through and in real estate. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name's Rick Bosley, and if I can ever help you out in any of these conversations, call myself, call my team, and we're happy to do so. Have a great day. Take care.